Earlier this year, the literary magazine Tin House held a contest in which readers were invited to submit short stories based on a prompt given by the editors. Now, each week, the editors would judge the best prompt and publish it on their website, and at the end of the 4-week contest, a grand prize winner would be announced. And I'll, in the interest of full disclosure, say that I entered 3 times and did not win once. For those of you nodding conspiratorially, we'll talk later. But the prompts were all taken from the same book. It was called Plotto, the master book of all plots, and it was written by a pulp novelist named William Wallace Cook in 1928, and then reissued by Tin House this year. And each of the prompts is only a sentence long, but there are over 1,500 of them in this book. Each one is expressed in the form of a kind of algebra equation, where A is a man and B is a woman, and if you've got more than one man in the sentence, you use numbers, so A1, A2, A3, so forth. And to drum up business for this book and contest, the editor went on NPR, on All Things Considered, and talked about it. And in addition to the radio broadcast, there was an article published on the website. And the staff writer who wrote the article took a favorable view of the book, but at one point he pointed out that there were several prompts that were pretty useless, and some that were, in his words, just plain wacky. And then he gave an example of one of those wacky prompts, and I want to read it to you, make sure I get it right. In plot 227, B is unable to marry A because her father of B, in using B as his subject in a scientific experiment, has instilled a poison into her blood. So let me do that to you. A woman wants to marry a man, but she can't because her father has used her in a scientific experiment and instilled a poison into her blood. That's the wacky plot. Apparently, no one told the good folks at NPR that the way Cook had come up with most of his ideas was just to pillage other stories. And that's the plot of Nathaniel Hawthorne's story, Rappaccini's Daughter. Now, let's be clear, this is not an obscure story. This is the kind of story that gets anthologized in all 19th century literature anthologies, in a lot of short story collections. I remember encountering it for the first time in one of those blue leather-bound things you can buy at the popular bookstore's Greatest American Stories Ever. So, in contemporary parlance, this was a real epic fail on the part of NPR not to recognize this. But what mystified me even more was why anybody would think that's a particularly wacky plot. We live in an age when writers, and literary writers here, not popular writers, are writing about zombies or having women give birth to horses, cavemen lurking in the shrubbery outside suburban homes. The list goes on and on, so I can't completely understand why Hawthorne's tale was singled out for dismissal.